All right, buckle up because today we're jumping into the absolutely wild, lightning-fast history of AI agents. Seriously, we're going to trace the whole journey from just one simple question to the mind-blowing tools that are popping up, like right now.
So it all kicks off with this. Back in the 1950s, the genius mathematician Alan Turing asks this question that sounds so simple, right? Can machines think? But that one little question, it basically lit the fuse for the entire field of artificial intelligence. It set us on the exact path we're still on today.
Okay, so here's a quick roadmap of our story. You can see we start way back in the 50s, we hit some really key moments, and then, well, things just explode. And you'll notice how that timeline gets all scrunched up at the end? Yeah, that's because the pace of all this is about to go into absolute hyperdrive.
All right, let's dive into that first era. We're talking about the early days, where the first AI agents were, total giants in what they did. From chatbot therapists to chess grandmasters. But, and this is a big but, their skills were super narrow.
So, first up, meet ELIZA. This was way back in the mid-1960s, one of the very first chatbots ever. Now, it wasn't actually thinking or anything, it was a really clever program that just used pattern matching. It would spot keywords you used and then, reflect your own sentences back at you as questions, kind of like a therapist might do.
But here's where it gets wild. How did people react? They knew it was just lines of code, but that didn't matter. People would pour their hearts out to it, telling ELIZA their deepest, darkest secrets. This whole thing even got a name, the ELIZA effect. It was the very first hint of just how deeply we humans can connect with AI, even when it's super simple.
Okay, let's fast forward a bit. We're jumping ahead a few decades to 1997. Computing power is getting way better, the field is growing up, and the world is about to witness this epic showdown between man and machine that, believe me, was going to grab headlines everywhere.
And this was the moment. 1997, IBM supercomputer Deep Blue goes up against and beats the world chess champion Garry Kasparov. We're talking arguably the greatest chess player who ever lived. This was a huge deal. A machine had just dominated in a game that was supposed to be the ultimate test of human brainpower. The world was just stunned.
But for all of Deep Blue's genius, and even ELIZA's weird charm, they both had the same massive problem, a huge limitation. They were specialists, locked into doing just one thing. So what was that one big drawback?
It was this. Deep Blue could play chess masterfully, calculating millions of moves a second. But you couldn't ask it to order you a pizza or tell you the weather. Couldn't even play checkers. These early agents were total one-trick ponies, amazing at their one thing, but completely useless for anything else. They had zero versatility.
And that brings us to the 2010s. This is where everything, and I mean everything, changes. This wasn't just another small step. No, this was a full-on revolution in how AI works. This was the moment AI finally learned how to learn. And the key to it all? A little thing called machine learning. See, instead of programmers having to write out every single rule by hand, step by step, they started building systems that could just learn. They'd feed them tons and tons of data, and the computers would figure out the patterns and make predictions all on their own. And of course, this was all fueled by massive leaps in computer power. So, with this new superpower of learning, AI agents suddenly became versatile. They could finally break free from those single-task prisons. Now you could train them on different sets of data to do all sorts of different jobs, hopping from one thing to another with a flexibility that was just impossible to imagine before. And this revolution didn't just stay locked up in some research lab. Nope, it came right into your living room. Think about personal assistants like Siri and Alexa. They're perfect examples. They can play music, set a timer, answer random questions, control your lights, and it's all powered by machine learning.
And that brings us to today. The explosion. If the 2010s were a revolution, well, the last couple of years have been a full-blown, world-changing explosion. We are now living in the age of these truly adaptive, unbelievably capable AI agents.
Seriously, just look at the years 2022 to 2023. The leap in what these things can do in just that short time has been absolutely staggering. You could argue that the progress we saw in those 2 years alone is bigger than many of the decades that came before, combined.
Just think about it. Today's agents can write, they can code, they can analyze complex stuff, they can create stunning art, and they can hold conversations that feel, well, real.
The sheer range of skills is just incredible.
And that's the real change here. They aren't just following rules anymore. That's the old way. We've gone way beyond AIs that just follow pre-programmed instructions. Today's agents are dynamic. They are learning, they are adapting, and they're making their own decisions to get a job done.
And that brings our entire 70-year journey right back around. We started with Alan Turing's simple question, can machines think? And now, in what feels like the blink of an eye, we're here. We've arrived at a totally new question, one that's just as profound for our time. What can't they do? Pretty wild, right? Something to really think about as this crazy new chapter unfolds.